Okay. So we assume that you created already teams because each table will be different team. There I see just 3 people. So if someone can join to this table, please join. Or yes.
Some places here up front.
So. Oh, this table is really strong because we have some ladies, just ladies, sorry. Oh my God, even 10 ladies, yes?
Okay. So try to balance it a bit so that it's more or less fair.
You are here. You are here, but just sitting there. Okay. That's interesting. Okay, just quickly explanation and the agenda of our workshops, yes? As I said, we have an hour and 30 minutes, so quick introduction by Christoph Reis-Schmidt from Upper Austria. He introduced you the Upper Austria in the spotlight. And the second part will be more your brainstorming. So we'll ask you to work together with us and to brainstorm about the mega trends and some issues concerning the clusters, but also the public agencies. So both, and we can. So we hope that everyone from you finds some interesting things from these workshops. Then we will ask you each team for some conclusions from the workshops, and at the last part we try to conclude together with Christoph our workshops. Christoph, floor is yours.
Okay, so thank you very much, everybody. I hope it's always a challenge to be the last guy before you finalize for the day, so I hope to keep you awake, and we both will handle it. So first I will give you a short insight about the background of our organization, what we are doing, so that you have a little bit of feeling. Later on, we see clusters and also business agency as the enabler for such megatrends. And we want to invite you to think about some solutions, how you could implement a megatrend in your region. So we're giving you more or less a guideline at the end, what worked at least in our area and where you could maybe take the one thing or the other home. And basically after this, there will hopefully also some times for discussion. So basically, let's open the gate and have a look what Upper Austria is all about. Upper Austria is more or less the key manufacturing area of Austria. When you are driving a BMW, it's very likely that the engine is created, developed and produced in Upper Austria, because globally the majority of the engines of BMW are provided and developed and produced in Linz or in Upper Austria. We have also huge companies like First Alpine, but also a huge bunch of small and medium-sized and very innovative companies. Where am I from exactly? Upper Austria is just covering 1.4 million inhabitants, and this accounts for just 16% of Austrian population. But when you go a little bit more in depth, then you see that Upper Austria is the powerhouse of industry in Austria, because we account for more than 28% of industry production. We are the export region #1 in Austria and account for 80% of Austrian gross value added. And that shows also that we have to deal with the topic of advanced manufacturing a lot, because, well, if our production is not competitive anymore, we can shut down our area completely. So basically, it's also interesting where the companies come from which invest in Upper Austria. And the funny thing is that last year we had more than 5,600 companies who opened up the premises in our area. And the majorities are obviously from guys from Austria, but ranked 2 and 3 is Romania, Slovakia, and then Germany, which is quite interesting, because Austria is very close to Hungary, for instance, and they are also not that much investing in our area, but the other countries are relatively intense working on that topic. So basically, one of the key strengths in Upper Austria is more or less the mentality to say, if my neighbor's house is burning down, I help them shutting down the fire instead of just being happy that my house is not affected. So, so we have pretty much the mentality to help each other and to cooperate and not just hiding ourselves because the other one could steal something. And this is quite a benefit if it comes to the topic of clustering and innovation, because if I don't see my neighbor as my direct competitor and as my opponent, cooperation becomes more easy. We have a path of smart specialization. Well, since back in 1998, by that time nobody talked about smart specialization strategy. But what did we mean by that time? We were focusing simply on our strengths. How could we identify our strengths? How could we further develop them? And we set up always strategic programs running for around about 5 years, which always complement the previous one to have a constant path of smart specialization. And the latest one is now in line with the H 2020. So we focus a lot of industrial production processes, energy, nutrition, mobility, and logistics, and very much linked everything with the topic of digitalization of digitalization. So one of our backbones is the topic, let's call it smart production. And in this context, we try to start already at the elementary schools to create awareness and come up with trainings on these topics up to the universities of applied science, up to the universities as such, to have more or less a path where we can support our companies from the very beginning in the field of like technology changes and making our staff, our pupils, etc. ready for the challenges of the future. So what does this practically mean? We have also a business agency where I come from, more or less, and they have also quite a history where we started with the founding of the TMG. That's the organization which was dealing with location marketing, bringing companies from abroad to Upper Austria and more or less promoting Upper Austria abroad. So this was more or less the business. Then in 1998, the first strategic program has been set up and the first cluster management organization has been founded. And then a department or an own company in 2002 has been founded dealing with funding support. Later on, Clusterland has been founded in 2006, which was then the umbrella organization of all the different clusters of our region. In 2009, the business parks have been founded, and then all these different organizations were merged to the new business agency in 2015. And right now we are integrating all universities of applied science, including all research institutes of our region, into our company as well. So this is a process which is also running. Just some figures. So we mainly focus a lot on bringing really companies in our area to settle down, around about 60. We have 2,200 cluster partners in the cluster. I go in detail what it means. And we invest a lot in cluster cooperative projects, meaning like technology development for our companies, where we bring companies from different parts of the value chain or from different value chains together and develop joint technology projects. We conduct a bunch of supplier innovation days where we bring our suppliers, for instance, to Chrysler in the States, to BMW, to Munich. We were now, a couple of weeks ago, we were at Sapco in Iran, where we try to bring really our suppliers to the promises of these big players to help them to be successful for the future. And we support around about 30 startups, but not with kind of standardized services, but really offering them the spaces, the offices, and all the processes from the idea to market, where we try, and with a clear focus on technology. So this is more or less the organizational structure where we are, what we are running, and I will go a lot more in detail on the clusters as such. I'm responsible for the overall internationalization activities if it comes to strategic project developments, so related to all different departments and all overall clusters, including if it comes to trainings or like international affairs, then it's more or less the stuff what I'm doing. And these are more or less some key figures I wanted to share with you. So we have around about 2,200 companies who actually pay membership fee in our 9 clusters and networks. We have mainly SMEs in this respect. We conduct around about 530 so cluster cooperative projects, what I already told you before, where we try to develop new products, new services, new technological solutions. And we have also 145 people who are in our advisory boards. So each cluster has an own advisory board from industry and research to support our strategy, to tackle our strategy, and each speaker of each advisory board is sent into the overall Clusterland advisory board. So more or less you see more or less an own advisory board at Clusterland as such to help us to streamline the overall strategies. So basically one thing I wanted to share, we have all the different clusters, and what you might have figured out is that these clusters are all working very much cross-sectoral. So we have an automotive cluster which dealing with lightweight construction. We have a plastics cluster which is dealing with smart plastics. That's the initiative where you bring microchips into plastic layers and something like this. We have topics like circular economy, which is a big business for us. We have the topic of advanced manufacturing, where the mechatronics cluster is cooperating with the IT cluster because it's also relevant for IT security and so on. So we have located all our different clusters on one floor, sharing the same coffee machine and the same IT infrastructure, so that we can really identify who is the company which has a problem and how can we servicize this company best, no matter from which angle we can support them. And one of these activities are more than almost 2,000 company visits each year. So yeah, we are also gold labeled and stuff like this. And basically now I want to rush through with you to the workshop. But before, I want to share with you some thoughts, because the idea is really how can I implement a megatrend. So I think this is quite a crucial thing, because everybody is talking about megatrends. But when you, for instance, have a look at this kind of Kondratiev waves, and I love this kind of slide very much, it turns out that always this country which jumped on this specific Kondratiev wave right at the beginning, when nobody was really talking about that topic, was the dominant one for the next 40 or 50 years. So with the steam engine, the British were the leadings, with the railways as well, with electric and chemically, partly Germany, automotive and petrochemical chemistry as well, information technology, then the Americans are the leading ones. And basically you see it right now that everybody is talking about advanced manufacturing, but in advanced manufacturing we can be very good and we can be successful, but we will never be the forerunner in this topic completely, because the technologies and the framework is already given from the States. So they have the software knowledge, they have everything. It's more or less to having like a highway built where somebody says, here you have the right to drive 100, here you are, they have the right to drive 140, and we can maybe be the teachers, the driving teachers, how to drive properly, but we don't have the possibility anymore to guide the highway in another direction because we simply drive on it. And I think this is a big issue to think about also for cluster organizations. What are the big megatrends? On the one hand, to deal with the megatrend right now. How can I monetize it best? How can I prepare my companies best? How I can make them ready for the trend right now? But what is really the next trend to come, and how can Europe capitalize on this next trend to come to be best off? And here I would like, first of all, also to invite you now to have like maybe 5 to 10 minutes just to collect 5 megatrends per group. What could be really big megatrends for the area, for your area or your country? And then we will look, then you have some minutes to think about like what could be a standardized implementation process. So no matter how this megatrend is called like, but what kind of key steps you would need to say like from I don't know, looking on a research level, what should be relevant, what it should be on the which key players you need to have in both, what are the key steps to implement such a megatrend, and what are the specific services maybe as a cluster organization or a business agency could be provide in this respect. Later on, I will show you some examples how we do it in our region. Then we have hopefully still some minutes for discussion, and I think that's pretty much the framework. And I would really invite you just to take some of these little post-its and just put like five post-its per table, and we will later on cluster it.
Yes, you can notice the perfect table here. It's a really strong team. So if you please, if you can join to the empty tables and take your seats. And if do you know each other, that's good. But if not, please just shake hands and say hello, and because it will be much better to. It will be much better to start this brainstorming to know each other, because as Christopher said, you have to, during this next 10 minutes, collect 5 megatrends to implement in the nearest future in your region, in your clusters, in your activities. So please just write on these colorful cards some megatrends. We need 5 megatrends per team. Oh, okay. So we have 4 teams now. Okay. So one team joined to the other, so we have 4 teams now. To tak szybko jeszcze po polsku wytłumaczę dla polskojęzycznych.
Quickly
Mamy
in
4 drużyny.
Polish, we have 4
Musimy określić
teams.
5 takich,
We
bazując na tym
must
slajdzie. Christoph,
specify based on
could you
this
just show this previous
slide,
slide?
5 megatrends.
Tak jak Państwo widzicie, co zrobić, żeby nie być na dole tej fali, tylko na górze i żeby być właśnie iść zgodnie z trendami i żeby tak naprawdę być tym nie followersem, ale tak naprawdę trendmakerem. Także bardzo proszę pomyślcie o tym teraz, o 5 takich megatrendach, które będą najbardziej istotne w najbliższej przyszłości. Yes. Okay. So quickly, because I in fact translated Christoph to Polish, but you should focus how to be on the top of this wave, not on the... Yes. So please give us 5 megatrends per team. What will be next? What will be after 2015? In 2018. Yeah, in your perspective, point of view.
For your region, yeah. So we're catching up a bit.
Słucham. Teraz tak, ta fala pokazuje, zobaczcie, że na przykład w 1800 kto był, jak ta fala pokazuje, bo to jest fajny wykres. Co tak naprawdę według Państwa teraz będzie...
Excuse me? Now I think you have already thought a little bit about different mega trends like that. And now I would like to invite you to think about the different steps. So we will now summarize the different like mega trends what you came up with. We will put it on the wall. And I would like now to invite you to think about the steps how you would implement such a mega trend in your region. So like what are, for instance, for you now the next 5 steps or whatever you have to do to get such a mega trend. One of them doesn't matter as a standardized approach to bring that on the ground from a perspective of a business agency or from the perspective of a cluster organization. So the purpose is clear, or anybody lost? Okay, clear so far, or the clear so far now?
Ja, voorbereid.
Okay, then perfect. So you present in some minutes. Excellent.
Do you know what is next after this mega trend?
Okay, surprise.
Can you explain it?
Presentation. We have to do a short presentation about it.
No, now you have to think. One of them? No, even all of them, and how to implement it. I mean, what kind of processes, activities, and whatever to achieve this kind of mega trends in clusters, in public agencies. So, what kind of stakeholders, processes, activities? I don't want to say about examples because then you just write it and put it on the card. So you have to think. For example, if clean energy, how to achieve this, mega trend, and how to follow this mega trend. Not follow, but be the trend makes.
If you are capable to do so, would be great. So if you would say step 1 is, I don't know, awareness, second is blah, 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 and with this awareness, the services are blah, blah, blah. That would be really perfect.
Yeah, and then I can prepare the report finally. We got the money.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. The mega trend is not an issue actually for you. So the idea is what to do now. Excuse me just for a second. So the idea of what to do now is that you don't care about your mega trend right now. But you think about a standardized process with 5 steps or whatever, how to implement such a mega trend, and underneath each step, what would be the precise service that you would think about. Like from the perspective of business agents,
Od 2012 produkuje.
create awareness for the topic, then what we blah blah blah, implementing like whatever. So what are the steps you take? Then you have more or less a guideline for whatever mega trend you're talking about. Are you lost or everything? Ah, okay. Are you already ready? Presenting, I guess.
The steps, okay.
And now we need the services underneath. So we have now the steps. What kind of services do you provide to implement?
Services.
Come on, come. I'm looking forward reading the Holy Grail later on, okay?
A set of steps actions following in order to communicate the megatrends, to involve all stakeholders, the regional authorities.
And then services you would like to use, you are going to use.
Services?
Services, as I told you. For example, I know, some business services, workshops, platform.
So it's a mix of action and services.
Yes, now steps of actions, then services.
Why doesn't the world
I lost a little bit, but I hope that Christoph is still there.
Let's say, okay, they have now 5 minutes, then we start with this group, they should present, and then we skip this mega trend topic, right? So, okay, now present your steps.
No. Just choose these 5
Okay. cultural leader. Yeah? That's the leader. He's now coaching. So the last 5 minutes to go. Yeah. Okay, then I would like to invite you to present your outcome. So I hope that each group has already one representative, and you have now a bunch of great innovative approaches like structures and services. Do we have any volunteer who would say they are ready to kick off the session?
Vladimir, are you the volunteer? Okay, so last 2 minutes. Yeah.
Okay.
So last 2 minutes, and then Vladimir as a table number 1. He will start with the presentation. There will be the table number 2, number 3, and number 4. Are you ready? Yeah? So please, attention, because we have a first volunteer, Vladimir, from Slovakia, yes?
We are here in group 1. It is Romanian Slovakia group. Only 6 people. 6. No, 12, 11, 6. And we have identified
the priority which can be implemented in our regions or in countries, because Slovakia is a small country, we can say in our region. And firstly, it's Industry 4.0, Internet of Things, open innovation, K-enabling technology, SS smart specialization, circular economy, human resources, e-mobility, and agriculture. And agriculture. This is the event. This is these areas and steps. Firstly, it should be this entrepreneurial discovery process. This process from bottom up. Then promoting the concept, SWOT, analysis, best practice, pilot action, and implementation. Services, communication, money, funding, training, implementation support, and evaluation. Danke.
Thank you very much. Of course, I will try together with Christoph conclude all your results from all tables. So now we just we'd like to invite the second table. And who is the leader? They are voting now.
It's a democratic approach.
Democratic approach.
Just put it. Oh, horizontal. Oh, okay. It's a horizontal, right?
And a lot of cards.
Okay. House of Cards.
Many wheels at this table and a lot of discussions. So we start with the megatrends. We saw some sustainable economy, of course, consisting of circular economy, social welfare, and so forth. And we have personalized healthcare as another megatrend. And everything about sort of new technologies, artificial intelligence, 3D printing, smart manufacturing, and so forth. That's another mega trend. Virtual reality, and also the cities, big cities against the rural areas. How do we prevent this gap? So how do we do this? We said that we define the scope of the problem and the opportunity, actually. It's more looking into the opportunity. We define which stakeholders that need to be involved. Is it politicians, big companies, consumers, whoever it could be? We sort of facilitate the realization of what this means. So we try to mobilize the actor to be a part of this common understanding of this trend. We define the overall purpose and the goals of what we're going to do. And then we sort of undertake some piloting, which we normally do, try to understand what are we going to do, do some experimenting and activities, and also look into what services is needed to make this work. And then if some new actors want to come along, we restart this process again and again and again, and do it over and over again until we're done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Perfect. So I think now we go further with the next group. So perfect with the third one, yeah.
Hi everyone. Group number 3 consisted of only Polish representatives, so maybe the mega trends that we have managed to identify reveal the situation of Polish industry challenges and of our cluster challenges that we struggle with on everyday basis. The first mega trend that we have identified is repeating what has already been said, energy efficiency and circular economy processes. So all the activities that respect our limited resources and make all the spheres of lives and technology processes consuming less amount of energy. Steps that need to be taken into consideration are when we talk about implementation phase is working on appropriate legal framework, increasing awareness and some kinds of certification. That is the area still missing in Poland in many aspects of lots of industry sections. The second mega trend is again repeated, electromobility. Very similar processes that we have identified, regulating some and creating some appropriate legal framework, appropriate infrastructure and working on high-speed technology development. The third mega trend, again, something that has already been identified here, silver economy and aging society. Similar processes, but one more, something that we have identified as a very important process. So trying to find solutions for generation gap that is appearing, that we can experience on everyday ground. Fourth mega trend, again, something that has already been said in this room, artificial intelligence, robotics. So it confirms that we focus on very, very similar mega trends. And the last one, something completely new for me, probably some of you are acquainted with the topic, blockchain. So it means like a new way of data processing and digitalization of certain spheres of life. When we try to develop the process of implementing this megatrend, so we started with understanding of this megatrend and increasing awareness. Again, generation gap solutions, because if it's going to be a real megatrend, we have to provide solutions for all three generations. Again, creating something that is called in Polish piaskownica regulacyjna. In English, we would translate it as legislative playground, creating a appropriate legal framework as a service that would allow us to start to implement this megatrend would be organizing some forms of hackathons as a service or as an event, and trying to create appropriate environment for pilot actions. This is what we have come up with as a third.
Thank you very much. During your speech, we were trying together with Christoph collect the results, and it's more and more interesting.
So I would like to invite the next group for the, or even the final one, but last but not least. So the floor is yours, and take care of the results.
Thank you. So concerning our mega trends, we were a table representing a great heterogeneity because we were 3 different countries, 3 different regions. The mega trends comes, the first one from in combination of Greece and Spain, from the clean energy, including solar technologies, and hydrogen production. Next, circular economy as well, which is an horizontal megatrend, makes good combination. Concerning Poland, artificial intelligence in combination with photonics, which has a strong know-how. And concerning Greece, we try to combine innovation in tourism and agri-food, easily combined, and smart cities as well, because you cannot have good tourism if you don't have smart cities. Concerning the actions and services, we are not sure if we follow the proper steps because we work under pressure as all the tables. But anyway, we prepare in an A4 paper instead of post-it. I will try to combine all ideas. First, we wanted to communicate the idea and the megatrend to all the regional stakeholders. Of course, this concerns the strategic level, what you should do, but there are many ways how you can do it. For example, one short video would be good for all in order to motivate, to leverage people and stakeholders, then to organize workshops and public consultation to customize the megatrend and the vision for the region, because from the general idea you have to put it in reality. And then in this workshop, experts from all the thematic sectors I refer should be invited to give, to make the general tacit knowledge and idea more explicit and real. And then to declare the region in a clear way to all people and invite as many as possible experts, even from abroad, for best practice exchange and mobilizing people. And then to organize seminars and workshops in order to leverage the tacit knowledge that exists in best practices everywhere for all thematic areas in order to make it explicit to people. It's crucial in this stage to leverage knowledge. And then to organize brainstorming sessions in order to create mega projects to cover the whole mega trend, and then to create an office for to make real projects and apply for funding. We don't know exactly what type of this office should be, but we need money in order to make something reality. Thanks.
Thank you, Nikos. And you have to be aware that even under this huge pressure of time and the other tables, your action plan is quite similar to this plan which we are going to show. But shortly, I would like just conclude your presentation. And what is interesting, because as you already noticed, of course, it depends on the table and on the team. I mean, on the countries you representative and regions represents. Sorry, but we have clearly 5 megatrends repeating in each team. It's circular economy, e-mobility, social innovation, artificial intelligence, and what is maybe the most interesting, innovation in agri-food, agriculture 4.0, even you called it. From the other, which are very interesting, but it was the only one, cases like photophonics, like what is also very innovative, innovation in tourism. I guess that guys from Greece they proposed it, this mega trend. And what is really interesting for us as the moderators of this workshop, that your action plans and your services are really similar to the reality and to the real case, what Christoph are going to present now from the Upper Austria and Clusterland, because yeah, we were curious what kind of results will be from these workshops, because now you can compare the real case from Upper Austria. So thank you for your contribution, and now I just give the floor to Christoph, and he explain you how it looks like in mechatronic cluster.
So thank you very much also from my side for the very active participation, and as you said, there was a lot of pressure and you made it, so congratulations. So nobody was left behind at the end, so thank you very much. Basically what I want to share with you are 2 things. The process, what we think how to implement a megatrend, doesn't matter about which megatrend we are talking. Basically, I think we need to think very much about the upcoming megatrend to come, and like let's say the IT topic, or let's say advanced manufacturing is the one we have to deal right now with, but we should also look into the future, what is really the one where Europe can be leading. But I will also jump to the topic of advanced manufacturing and how we implemented this megatrend and how we came across it. So basically, I can jump about this, so I'm very happy that nobody of you fell asleep in the course of the workshop and even before. But anyway, so basically one of the key things is that megatrends do not occur immediately. So they grow over time, and the very interesting position of a cluster organization is that it is the interface between companies and regions and also the government and so on, and can generate a kind of a win-win situation for all actors involved. Basically, what I would like to share with you is the idea that when can you identify that a cluster optimum or the optimum of a business agency is reached. And it's in the case that if you identify the specific key trend that, for instance, the research institute said, well, we want to have you in the boat as a company representative, that the policymakers come to you and say, how should the real proper framework, funding framework look like? How can we really bring the best out of it? And that's more or less a very interesting thing. And that also the companies ask you directly for your support. What can we do? How can we do it? And how shall we do it? So we were thinking about a kind of a 5 steps approach, how we can implement such a megatrend in the region. So basically, we were thinking about this topic of megatrend advanced manufacturing back in the beginning of 2013. And by that time, nobody was talking about a digitalization advanced manufacturing. So you see it here on Google Analytics. So this wasn't really a big issue. So we realized that there is something to come. And we organized a big conference on the topic of implementing a megatrend, about megatrends as such. And this was the symposium Advanced Manufacturing. So for us, the first step, what we took was to trace research. To say you have to really be on the forefront, because the companies are often so stuck in their daily business that you need somebody who has a visionary thinking and say, hey guys, you are doing a great job right now, and maybe this job is still fine in 3 years from now. But maybe you're bankrupt in 5 years from now because you are barking up the wrong tree on a longer scale. So you need some guys in a cluster organization who have the vision to see where to go through. And to identify this, we also came across later on the kind of study from a research institute who said that in Upper Austria, 750,000 jobs just in the production area are at risk. So if you think about before, I presented that we have around about 8 million people, and just in the production area, 750,000 jobs are at risk. And this research came to the conclusion that in 2014, 30% of our whole GDP is generated with completely new products, new services, and completely new business models which do not exist right now. So it's not just about like streamlining a bit or digitalizing something a bit, but that really the basic jobs, what we are doing, and also the highly skilled jobs, are getting more and more under pressure to find solutions. I can give you an example. We have a production chain of a big company. It's called, it's producing firefighting cars, and one of the world market leaders, and they have 2 production chains. At the end, they produce the same firefighting cars. In the one production chain, they have around about 100 people, in the other one, 3. The one thing is completely digitized, there you don't need anybody anymore, and the other one is still very much handwork. So you see how disruptive this area is. But if you think about jobs like financial accounting, if you think about lawyer issues and so on, these things get also under pressure if it comes to digitalization and also these big fields. So basically, we invited Elgar Fleisch to this big conference on the megatrend, and he is the godfather of Industry 4.0, and more or less, he founded, I think, 6 startups. He has more than 100 publications, and he presented in this kind of conference to our also political leaders and all the key players in our area. So if you don't jump on this train, Upper Austria is bankrupt and you can shut down your region. So it was a really tough presentation on it, but it really changed a lot. So for us, it was really important to say, we want to identify this mega trend, and we want to bring ourselves in a forerunner position.
Even Nikos just mentioned that we should invite someone very important. So it was
and so we after this kind of event, we had like one person in our cluster who was exclusively just focusing on the topic of advanced manufacturing, to become a real expert on the topic, looking for the cradles of advanced manufacturing, how are the trends going, what does this really mean, especially in particular to the SMEs, what kind of bottlenecks are there, and so on and so forth. And so we did research, we discussed with the leading universities, we visited Kaiserslautern, we were at Rüschlikon, and so on. So we wanted to be the ones at the end to be asked by our companies, what shall we do and how shall we do it? But for us, it was important to identify what is the status quo in our region. So we did a research on advanced manufacturing and asked more than 2,600 contacts, do you think that advanced manufacturing is a big issue for you? The majority said, well, it's not a big deal, we don't have to care about it. And at the end of this kind of research, this questionnaire, we gave them, I think, 1 or 2 pages about the challenges in our point of view on advanced manufacturing, and then they had to answer the same questionnaire again. And in the end, more than 80% said, wow, it's a big issue, we have to deal with it. So basically, as I said before, the companies are stuck in their daily business and they are not aware often about what the challenges are, and that they really need to challenge it. And this is a big issue where a business agency or a cluster organization can come into play. Parallel, for us, the next step was to integrate the environment. So we not just invited like the Minister of Economy or the Vice Chancellor of Austria to the big conference on megatrends, who also was there, but also set it up a platform of advanced manufacturing where we have the Minister of Economics there, we have the research, we have industry, and basically this kind of group is deciding on funding schemes. So we set up a bunch of funding schemes, helping companies, for instance, to have like the key players, like from university, which have really are skilled in that area. We have an advanced manufacturing assistant program where companies get like 1 or 2 years like a price reduction if they hire somebody who has advanced manufacturing background directly from university. We developed a kind of a model region, and we developed the so-called maturity model, you call it in German Reifegrad-Modell, where we can measure the readiness level of a company in a specific status right now, derive their areas of improvement, and help them to become successful. So basically, it was also for us important to have then also specific working groups who, on the one hand, user groups and also provider groups who deal with advanced manufacturing in different settings all the time. And derived from this 60 participants, we came across that the topic of data security, modeling and simulation, production optimization, big data and virtual reality are the key issues for us in our area to tackle. And derived from this knowledge, we knew more or less where we had to put our focus on, and we brought our Minister of Economics, our Vice Governor and so on to these cradles of cradles jointly with the different media and so on, to have like the respective push, and that the companies really got aware that there is some big issue to take and to deal with. So we wanted to have really the whole environment, from research, from politics, from companies, up, down, partly even to the customers in the board to get something settled. And conducted also a big conference. This was also interesting because on the left side you have our CEO, you have the head of the Chamber of Industrialists, you have the Vice Chancellor of Austria, the Minister of Economics, so everybody who's quite important in our area and in Austria was there. And this conference was also interesting because we used it also as a tool for worst practice cases. We wanted really to have companies presenting that they are dealing with advanced manufacturing and it doesn't work out. And here are the problems and there are the problems, because everybody is just presenting that everything is great and in the end it doesn't work out. So we wanted to really have them open and say, we tried this one, this works, but this didn't work out. And actually, for us, it was then important to say the 4 steps: support the willing and make them role models. So as a cluster organization, we developed a huge bunch of support mechanisms, from individual workshops to guided tours, to missions, to trainings, but also to financial support schemes in line with the regional government to help the companies to become really advanced manufacturing ready. So these were more or less our main cluster activities. And we had, as I said before, a specific innovation assistant program to help the companies to get the knowledge directly from industry, from research. We had also a kind of a training course for mechatronics for pupils. So we have set up a kind of a train, and this kind of train is dealing with mechatronic solutions in the train. So we have from the Austrian train company, we have a huge train, then removed everything, and in this kind of train, this pupils are training other pupils on new technologies and new stuff, because we think we should really start with them pretty early. And the key thing at the end is to make the progress measurable and standardized. So when you really support somebody, you want to have the outcome really measurable. And for us, the crucial thing was we wanted to measure it down at the level of the companies, because there is the thing where you have really the impact. So we developed a kind of let's say, a maturity model in 3 dimensions: data management, smart factory, and digital transformation. And in this kind of process, we identify where is the status quo of this kind of company, where they should develop to, and we develop kind of activities and recommendations, what they should then practically do at the end. And this is more or less how this process looks like. So we have a kind of a strategy workshop, more or less around a day or 1.5 days, where we look at the strategy, what are the key objectives, what they want to tackle. Then we look at the application fields in the production where they need some adjustments. Then we also, when we have all this information, then we look at the analysis of the status quo by interviewing the different people or key people in the production or in the company, identify the potential, where are they right now. And then we put this in a database where we have reference databases and see in this sector, the reference is this in this way. And then we have easy solutions, hopefully not so easy solutions, but working solutions where we can say, okay, take these and these activities to become more successful. So we give project suggestions, which are then, when they are finalized, feed it in this whole process, and it's more or less a constant improvement cycle. And this is an approach what we developed jointly with the University of Applied Science in our region. So basically, that's it. These are some companies, also maybe Magna Steyr is something somebody knows from you, or Greiner, where we, or Phil, where we use this kind of approach. And we trained a lot of trainers who are now going out in the region and try to to apply this kind of approach in the region. So we see us more or less as the knowledge hub behind it and selling this kind of, or providing this knowledge to others. But we want at the end to have like the region improved as such, and so we make a little bit money with it, but on an overall basis, the service provider should use it as a little business case for them. Yeah, so this is in quick, more or less our approach, like this kind of 5-step approach, what we used, and I guess that it's also applicable for other topics as such. And yeah, thank you very much. And in case you have any questions.
So in fact, we wanted to finish in times, and we are perfectly in time.
Perfectly in time.
Yeah, and as you already noticed, in fact, Christoph just provided you the clear way, guideline to how to achieve this and how to implement these megatrends in your activities. Of course, we would like to make some summarize after this conference, and I probably, if Christoph just agree, I put some maybe information how to do this in this summarize. Question and answer session. Yes, please. First question.
Thank you very much. It was really very interesting how you presented your way of doing. I have a very simple question, because you started in 2013. It's quite some time ago. So steps more or less it's clear, but just one simple question. What kind of impact this process, with all steps made for your region? What did you achieve? Thank you.
So, yeah, thank you for the question. Well, I would say, I can say different steps that we said we have more or less a standardized and sound trainings curriculum in place. We have like all these measurements where we can evaluate the readiness level of companies. So we can then say that we have benchmarked this amount of organizations and can see what their process or how they improved over the times. So we have really on the company level the impact where we see it. We have also on the like research level, or let's say university level, the impact that we say we have now this amount of students who are trained with specific background of advanced manufacturing, and they are now integrated into the cycle of, or in the companies as such. So I wouldn't say that we have like clear figures that by implementing advanced manufacturing approaches like this, we have generated, I don't know, 1,000 additional jobs or something like this. But we can really clearly say for specific companies who follow this path, this is valuable, this works out, and they have improved their strategy, this works out, and we can see that we get more and more students in these kind of fields, which is our status quo, let's call it like this. And that's in particular when we as you saw in one of the beginning slides, that we do more or less than 1,950 company visits. We are not starting from scratch anymore when we talk about advanced manufacturing, that they don't look at us like what it is about, but they have already quite a feeling where the bottlenecks are, and that they should take some actions.
Okay, other question?
Thank you. It was really interesting. I was just curious to hear whether you had, is this the only megatrend that you've implemented, or did you identify 5 or more megatrends, and what are they, so that we can also learn?
So actually we checked it out now with this advanced manufacturing right now. We think the approach works for others as well. And I personally, but this is just my personal point of view, is really that the upcoming is much more in the field of health areas, interaction with people, working together in networks and stuff like this. There I see much more the topic. So I see this topic of digitalization still then as an enabler for much more interactive, creative, and less hierarchically solutions. So I don't see that there is now a megatrend done and you don't use it anymore, but that the outcome of this megatrend is again an enabler for the new things to come, and I see it much more in the cooperative, creative, lean issue like this.
Any other questions? Okay, so I think that we can now thank you very much and please enjoy this nice weather still. More probably tomorrow we'll meet to some people from this conference. Of course, we also prepare some summarize. Thank you very much for this very interesting day, very fruitful day, I hope, and yes, and enjoy evening. Sorry, Maja, proszę.
Of course, from PULP, I'd like to thank you very much for your for your participation, for your inspiration, suggestion you decided to share. I'd like to remind you about the assessment. I mean, the small piece of paper with your opinion, very important for us. And please do remember to give your headphones set back. I would be grateful, and have a nice afternoon. Thank you very much, and enjoy your afternoon as well. Thank you.
Thank you.